Hi, this is video 2 in the playlist where we're looking at the June 2018 foundation paper for Edexcel. In the previous video we completed to question number 11, so in this video we're going to start from question number 12 onwards. I'm going to aim for the video to be about 25 to 30 minutes or so. Please do stop, have a go at each of the questions and then compare your solutions. Should give you around about an hour's worth of fairly focused revision. Okay, so on to question number 12, and we've got a group of football fans. Were asked to what their favourite half-time snack was. Okay, and the table below gives information. So the key issue here is we've got a group of football fans. We don't know actually how many football fans the pie chart is supposed to represent. However, we do know that 11 of them like burger, 17 of them like pie, and 8 of them like hot dogs. So if we add all of that together, what it means is we have 36 fans altogether. So 36 fans are going to be represented on that pie chart. Well, there are 360 degrees in a circle. So if there's 360 degrees and each fan, or there's 36 of them, then each fan is going to be 10 degrees. Okay, hope that's all right for you. With a lot of these pie charts, you need to find out the quantity that you're representing and then how many degrees per item it would be. Okay, so we've got 11 fans who liked burger. We're going to multiply that by 10, and that's going to be then 111 degrees. 17 times 10 is 170 degrees, and 8 times 10 is 80 degrees. Now actually, if you add all of that together, you should get 360 degrees. So we've basically got 36 fans, 360 degrees altogether. Okay, now it does say draw an accurate pie chart for this information. You need to get hold of a protractor to be able to measure this through. I figured that on this video we'll just leave it. I'll do a little bit of freehand. Okay, so hopefully your diagram will be an awful lot better than mine. Okay, so the first one is going to be burger, which is going to be 110 degrees. Okay, now that will be there. Okay. And then the next one is going to be pie, which is 170. Well, there's 180 degrees in a straight line, so it's going to be just slightly less than a straight line. If I move that across there, it'll be a straight line. I'm going to make it slightly less, and we're going to call that 170 degrees, so that's going to be pie. Okay, and then finally hot dog. Now again, if you were doing this accurately, you would figure out that that actually is 80 degrees. Okay, it doesn't look really like 80 degrees on this particular video, but hopefully you'll get the general idea that you need to just make sure these are nice and accurate as you do them. Okay, and that would answer that question for 3 marks. So let's move on then to question number 13. So question number 13 deals with probability. Okay, so as a scout group has a raffle and they're raising money. There's one prize to be won in the raffle. Laura buys 12 tickets. Find the probability that Laura does not win the prize. Okay, well in that case, if she's bought 12 tickets, then it means the 12 tickets that she bought are all losing tickets. Okay, so if they're all losing tickets, then it means what we actually have left is 338 tickets. Okay, so one of those is actually probably the winning prize, but the probability that Laura did not win the prize is going to be that 338 out of the 350 tickets altogether. Okay, hope that's okay for you. It does take a little bit of time just to kind of work around on that one. Let's move on to a frequency tree question where we're being asked to complete these particular circles. So each worker in a factory is either right or left-handed. Okay, so 22 of the 45 workers are male. All right, well, we can start to fill that in. We can say there's 22 out of the 45, which would mean then if 22 of them are male, then 23 of them are female. Okay, then it says 16 of the 34 right-handed workers are female? Okay, 16. So what that means is there we are, 16 of them are right-handed, okay, and they're female. In that case, there must be then 18 males that are right-handed, because there's 34 altogether, 16 of them are female, so therefore there must be 18 that are actually right-handed. Okay, and then really it's just a case of completing the other two circles. So we've got 23 females, 16 of which are right-handed, so it must mean then that 7 are left-handed. Okay, 22 males, 18 of which are right-handed, so it must mean that 4 are left-handed, and that would answer this particular question. It's just a little bit of deduction to kind of work your way through those sorts of questions, and just take your time as you work through them. Okay, let's move on then to question number 15. Mary needs to work out the size of angle X. Okay, this angle here, and she says it's 63 degrees because the base angles of an isosceles triangles are equal. Actually, that's true, but what she's identified is not the base angle. This is actually the angle at the top, and that's because in an isosceles triangle this side and this side are equal. So actually the way that should be would be something like this, where this is 63, okay, this line is equal, this line is equal, and actually this top bit is X. And this bit, if you can imagine what I've done is I've flipped it over, this bit at the bottom is also 63 degrees. So you need to kind of write that into some sort of sentence. Okay, I would say base angles are equal. Okay, something like this. And then I would put something like angle BAC would be 63 degrees. Okay, it's a 1 mark question. I think sometimes having a little sketch as well, something like that, is quite useful, and it shows the examiner that you really do know what you're talking about. Okay, let's move on to question or part B of this, and it talks about William needs to work out the angle of Y in the diagram. Okay, so he's worked out and he's said that EGH is 57 degrees. Now it's actually put because corresponding angles are equal. Well, that's not correct. Okay, and it's a little bit sneaky in this particular one. Okay, it's not corresponding, it's alternate. Okay, they are, this angle and this angle is 57 degrees, that's for sure, but they are alternate angles. Okay, so you need to pick that up and just write down a reason that rather than using corresponding, it's alternate. Okay, let's have a look at the next questions. This is question number 16. We're 8 minutes into the video. Please do stop, have a go at this particular question, and then compare your solution. Okay, so Marla buys some bags of buttons. There's 19 buttons or 20 buttons, or oh gosh, 21 or 22 buttons. Okay, table gives some information. All right. So it's one of those questions where really what we've got to do is work out how many buttons there are in this particular bags. Okay, so there's 20 buttons here and there's 7 bags. So this frequency means number of bags. Okay, so 20 times 7 is going to be 140. Okay, similarly there's 3 bags with 21 buttons in them, so that's going to be 63, and then finally there's 1 bag with 22 buttons in it. So if I add all of that together, I'm going to have actually 225 buttons that have been accounted for. However, the problem is that the total number of buttons is 320, but I've only come up with 225. So the difference between the two is going to be 320 minus 225. That's going to equal 95. Now those 95 buttons must be in these bags of 19. So really the calculation is going to be 95 divided by 19. And very neatly, that works out at 5. So therefore, there must be 5 bags with 19 buttons in. Okay, hope that's okay for you. It does take, again, a little bit of time to kind of work through the thinking behind each of this. But in this particular case, you just really need to work out the totals of buttons. Okay. It's probably very similar with the next question, okay, because these are very popular on Edexcel foundation papers. List of ingredients for making 30 biscuits. Okay, what's the greatest number of biscuits that Lucas can make? All right. Well, I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of instinct here, okay? What I'm going to say is actually, I think that Lucas has got enough ingredients to make 60 biscuits. Okay, so if I look at this, I'm going to write 60 biscuits here. Okay, all right, now 60 biscuits means all of these ingredients will be doubled. Okay, so he's going to have 450 grams of butter. Okay, he's going to have 220 grams of caster sugar. Okay, he's going to have 550 grams of plain flour. Okay, and he's going to have 150 grams of chocolate. Okay. So, I know definitely that he can make 60 biscuits because he's got plenty of butter. He's got plenty of caster sugar, he's got loads of plain flour, and he's certainly got enough chocolate chips. Okay, so let's now decide that actually what are we going to do with this information? Well, we know eventually we're going to get to a point where he's going to run out of ingredients. Now I'm just going to, I'm going to take a little bit of a guess here that I'm actually now going to work it out for 90 biscuits. Okay, so that's going to be, I can either do 3 times each of these, or I can just add these together because this is 30 and this is 60. So therefore, if I add them together, I'm going to get 90. But again, I'm just going to trust that it's going to give me a good idea. And I think with these sorts of questions, sometimes you just got to kind of look at it a little bit and think, I wonder if I can get away with this. Okay, so let's go for butter again. I've got 90 biscuits, okay. Now in this particular case, just because it's easier for me, I'm going to add the ingredients for 30 and the ingredients for 60 together. Okay, so for butter, okay, I'm going to have 225 plus 450. Well, that's going to be 625 grams. Okay, well, he's got plenty of butter. Okay, then I'm going to look at sugar. Okay, and I've got 110 plus 220 is going to be 330 grams of sugar. He's absolutely fine with that. Flour, maybe I'm wrong here, I don't know. Well, I do know, but maybe I'm wrong here, I don't know. But this is the way I would do this sort of thing. Let's have a look then at flour. So again, I'm going to add the 30, which is going to be 275 grams, to the 60, which is 550, and I'm going to come out with 825 grams of flour. And then finally, I'm going to add chocolate chips together. So chocolate, okay. Now, this is where we figure it out, because 75 add 150 is actually 225 grams. And guess what? He's only got 225 grams of chocolate chips. So therefore, he can only make 90 biscuits. Okay, so hopefully that was all right for you. I think with these things, you've got to be very careful not to over-calculate. You need to just try to sort of step back a little bit and try and figure out maybe the best way that you can do these sorts of questions. Okay, let's move on then to question number 18. Okay. Describe fully the single transformation. Okay, it's a single transformation that maps A onto B. Okay, well, it's one of those questions where really you've got to figure out that it's a reflection, and it's actually going to be in the mirror line, which is this one here, which is the y-axis. Okay, and that would be sufficient for this particular question. You can just say that a single transformation is it's a reflection in the y-axis. Okay, all right, so that's 15 minutes. I think what we'll do is we'll do question number... okay, I think we'll leave it there actually. So that's 15 minutes into the video, and we'll start again in the next video from question number 19. I hope that's been okay for you. Please do add a comment below if you're not sure about anything, and I'll look forward to seeing you inside the next video.